Here, there are typically three attacks on the account. First, Josephus didn't mention the census, therefore Luke can't be fully trusted. Next one cast doubt on whether or not an actual official census would really force Joseph and Mary to go to Bethlehem to register. And the big one with Luke mentioning that Cyrenius was governor of Syria at this time. But it needs to be acknowledged up front is that if you've been going off of a 4 BC date for Herod's death, then you have been looking at the wrong time period the entire time, and have to take a fresh look at the 3 and 2 BC dates. First off, Luke does recognize the more well-known census in 6 AD when Cyrenius took over for Archelaus that coincides with Judas the Galilean leading a small uprising. But does anything look peculiar on this timeline right now? 6-7 AD was a sabbatical year, which is a perfect time to conduct a census. Unlike, 2020 with never-ending survey calls. But this sheds some new light with the 2-1 BC sabbatic year in proximity of Jesus' birth. Now, because Herod died in 1 BC, is that the artificial governor of Syria gap that Schur and others create from 4 to 1 BC or to 1 AD goes away when it's recognized that Varus served as governor twice, as Josephus has him taking over for Cyrenius, and had to stop a Jewish revolt that ensued after Herod's funeral and spring Passover. This war had messianic tones all over it. And Tertullian, who dated Christ's birth in 3-2 BC, said that the census was taken by Cyrenius. And this statement doesn't undermine what Luke wrote, because guess what? Cyrenius was governor of Galatia at this time. Roman historian Tacitus wrote about all the great honors that Augustus bestowed upon Cyrenius, with Tiberius giving him a grand funeral in 21 AD. So, Cyrenius had already been governor of Crete and Cyrenaica before his time in Syria. He was named Roman consul in 12 BC, which I hope you understand is a pretty big, huge honor. Next, he led the campaign as governor in Turkey and served as legate in Galatia. Augustus also appointed him as tutor/trainer of Gaius Julius Caesar, Augustus's grandson, to train him up on political leadership because he was inexperienced, but was next in line to be the emperor. Gaius Caesar died in 3 AD, but in that year, Augustus named Cyrenius Duumviri as the joint magistrate of the whole empire with him. Then appointed Cyrenius governor of Syria from 6 to 12 AD when Augustus had enough of Archelaus sucking, and obviously he ended up conducting the local census and taxation after arriving. And on his death, Emperor Tiberius gave him a grand funeral in Rome. Needless to say, this is not some low-level chump here. This is Augustus's go-to man to get big tasks done. So, does a special appointment by Augustus in 3-2 BC to oversee a census really seem out of the possibility? Obviously not. And Ramsey's point remains true that Luke's history is rock solid. So there is no throwing baby Jesus out with the bathwater because of an argument from silence on Josephus's end. But where is the evidence of a census even taking place during this time, right? First, Josephus informs us that there were more than just one governor of Syria at this time. You have Titus named here helping calm the waters between Herod and Archelaus. Then also a man named Volumnius at the same time of Cyrenius. And Josephus continued to speak of multiple governors of Syria ruling at the same time while Herod was still alive. Writing about the same time as Tacitus is Justin Martyr, who wrote his first apology, an apologetic work in some respects, and said that Jesus was born when Cyrenius became the first procurator of Judea and could be found in the Roman tax records of that time. The catch here is that Justin was writing directly to Emperor Pius and the entire Roman government because he was more or less begging them to stop the persecution of Christians. So, he was telling them that the proof of his claims about Jesus was to go check their very own records. You don't do that unless it really occurred. The interesting thing about Justin calling Cyrenius a procurator instead of governor is that Tacitus, in his biography about his father-in-law's conquest of Great Britain, said that two men were set over the Brits. One was a lieutenant and the other was a procurator. The procurator's job was to handle governing the local properties, like with taxation and taking enrollments. But the neat thing is that Tacitus also called them governors. So, a procurator held the same authority as a governor of a Roman province. But still, where's the 32 BC census proof, right? How about right from Augustus himself? In his autobiography, he talked about how great he was. That included his conducting of 3 censuses in 28 BC, 8 BC, and 14 AD, where the people were registered, and that vows, or you could really say oaths, to him as emperor were to be made by the councils and priests every 5th year. 5th year from the 8 BC census is 3 BC. But look what he adds to this. Moreover, all the citizens, both individual and by their towns, of one accord repeatedly made supplication at all the gods' couches for my health. This matches exactly the description of what Luke said about Augustus' order in 2:1. Augustus also mentioned how he made Cyrenius consul in 12 BC, which was the same year that he was bestowed with the title of Pontifex Maximus. Then, in 2 BC, he instituted the Games of Mars that were played in the Circus Maximus, the Roman Forum, and the amphitheater, and finished building the Temple of Mars. So, you should be thinking Mardi Gras and the World Cup final on roids here. As he was explaining all of this, is that Augustus recounted the Battle of Actium, and that he had all the provinces swear an oath of allegiance to him. Whereupon, in 27 BC, he received the title Augustus from the Senate and the citizens. Recall that Augustus held a census prior to the Roman Senate honoring him with this divine-like title. The note here for us is the order in which this occurred, because the very last thing that he recounted is how in 2 BC he was given the new title Father of the Fatherland, and it was given to him by the whole Roman people. That includes the provinces. The official bestowing of this new title on him took place on February 5th, 2 BC, so the regular people's oath would have been done before this in 3 BC. 2 BC also marked the Silver Jubilee, or 25th year, of Augustus' rule as emperor, and was also the 750th anniversary of the founding of Rome. This provides us with the reasoning why Augustus was throwing the biggest festival Rome had ever had. But, where's the 3 BC whole Roman world oath mandate, right? That comes from 2 sources. The first is in Suetonius' famous work, The 12 Caesars. He reiterated that Augustus held 3 censuses in 28 BC, 8 BC, and 14 AD, and that Augustus required the people to give him the same veneration as to the gods, i.e., deified emperor worship. 258. The whole body of citizens, with a sudden unanimous impulse, proffered him the title Father of his country. So, the whole empire had to revere Augustus with this new title and Suetonius adds that it first started with the commoners, which would have been conducted in 3 BC. This follows the same pattern that we saw in 28-27 BC with his new title as Augustus. In the book Roman Civilization by Lewis and Reinhold, is that they have the actual oath that each person had to give during the 3rd year from Augustus's 12th stint as consul, which was in 5 BC. That places the 3rd year from it in 3 BC. But where does it say that the Jews in Judea had to do this? That brings us to our second source, Josephus. He wrote, "Accordingly, when all the people of the Jews gave assurance of their goodwill to Caesar and to the king's government, these Pharisees did not swear, being above 6,000 of them." Notice that all the people were made to do this, but 6,000 Pharisees refused to do so because they were not going to bow down and honor the emperor this way as he demanded them to do so. So right there is your 3 BC whole world census that Luke was referring to. And instead of thinking of the normal IRS taxation process here, is that it is better to understand it as the people were being enrolled or registered as swearing allegiance to Augustus and worshiping him as the divine father of the fatherland. The Pharisees didn't take the oath because they were believed to have the foreknowledge of things to come by divine inspiration. They foretold how God had decreed that Herod's government should cease and his posterity should be deprived of it. If you're not hearing Daniel 2, 7, and 9 in this, then please go check out that series. But these predictions were not concealed from Salome, but were told to Herod. This is an absolute death blow to the 4 BC date, as Herod is still alive after the empire-wide oath mandate was given to them in 3-2 BC. Herod was also told how 6,000 Pharisees had perverted some persons about the palace itself. So the king slew such of the Pharisees as were principally accused. He also slew all of those of his own family who had consented to what the Pharisees foretold. So Herod killed everyone involved that believed in this prophetic overthrowing of his kingdom. Gee, why does this pattern of events sound so familiar? And to wrap up the census discussion, is that yes, we have evidence of Roman officials ordering people to return back to their ancestral home for the purpose of a registration. In Egypt, a papyrus has been found in the huge Oxyrhynchus collection dating to 104 AD. It says, "By proclamation of Gaius Vibius Maximus, prefect of Egypt, the house-to-house census having started, it is essential that all persons who, for any reason whatsoever, are absent from their district, be summoned to return to their own hearths, in order that they may perform the customary business of registration and apply themselves to the cultivation which concerns them." Reminder, hit the subscribe button below, turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, and leave a comment. And don't forget to visit us at justscripture.org. But in the meantime, stay salty.